Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
Presented by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group. Growing Legacies. Co-presented by Century Ply. आग से बचाए.
Good evening and welcome. You're watching the Newstrack. I'm Rahul Kanwal. The Aam Aadmi Party is claiming aggressively that the next general election will be Modi versus Kejriwal. Is this at all rooted in reality, or is it just a grand dream which has no firm foundation? That's my top focus on the Newstrack tonight.
Delhi Liquor Gate Dangal. Aam Aadmi Party claims Operation Lotus in capital. BJP counters with Revdi-Bevdi attack.
पैसा दो, ठेका लो, और बेवड़ी है ये सरकार, करती है कट्टर भ्रष्टाचार.
From Delhi to Gujarat. Aam Aadmi Party versus BJP showdown goes nuclear. Big focus on Newstrack.
Here's a look at the headlines I'm tracking tonight. Arvind Kejriwal says the raids on his deputy were a BJP plot to topple the government in Delhi. Kejriwal offers free education, power and healthcare in Gujarat. Hits back at the PM's Revdi taunt. KCR's daughter hits back after BJP claimed her role in the Delhi liquor scam. K. Kavita calls it a conspiracy to malign her family. Tipu versus Savarkar war escalates. Congress threatens to paste Tipu posters at BJP offices. BJP youth worker detained for putting up Savarkar posters at the Congress office. Russia detains an ISIS suicide bomber who was plotting a high-profile terror attack in India. Bomber admits he was asked to avenge insult to the Prophet. BJP netas were on his hit list. Flood fury ravages North India. UP, Odisha and Himachal battle deluge. Because of incessant rain, roads submerged, homes and vehicles swept away. The Delhi Liquor Gate dangal is getting bigger. Today, Manish Sisodia, who's been named in the CBI FIR in the excise policy case, made a sensational allegation, accusing the BJP of asking him to split the Aam Aadmi Party and do a shindy on Kejriwal. The BJP in turn accused the Delhi government of being a Revdi-Bevdi Sarkar. Here's how the biggest political fight played out through the day.
National capital turns into political battleground. Manish Sisodia's posters blackened. Protesters clash with police trying to barge into Delhi Chief Minister's residence. These were the scenes from the BJP and Congress protests demanding the resignation of Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia over Aam Aadmi Party government's contentious excise policy.
शिक्षा विभाग भी और शराब विभाग भी ये एक ही व्यक्ति के पास है. ये अरविंद केजरीवाल मॉडल है. पैसा दो, ठेका लो, और बेवड़ी है ये सरकार, करती है कट्टर भ्रष्टाचार, कट्टर भ्रष्टाचार।
Under fire, a defiant Manish Sisodia made a sensational allegation against the BJP.
मैं राजनीति में इसलिए नहीं आया कि कुछ सपना है मेरा सीएम बनने का, पीएम बनने का, कोई कुर्सियों पर बैठने का। मैं राजनीति में इसलिए हूँ कि दिल्ली के और देश के हर बच्चे को बहुत शानदार शिक्षा मिल सके। मेरा सपना ये है, मेरा सपना मुख्यमंत्री बनना नहीं है। तो बीजेपी वालों को मेरा करारा जवाब है, इस पे खुला जवाब है।
ऐसे भ्रष्ट व्यक्ति को, देशद्रोही व्यक्ति को, जो सीए के तरह सरतन से कलम करने वालों का मदद करने वाला सिसोदिया, भाजपा ऐसे लोगों को चिमटे से भी न छुएगी।
Delhi liquor gate has reached Telangana too. This after BJP alleged that the Chief Minister KCR's daughter helped Sisodia with the formulation of the liquor policy. K. Kavita has denied the charges and is instead filing a defamation case against BJP leaders Pravesh Verma and Manjinder Sirsa.
केसीआर की बेटी जो हैं उनका इसमें रोल है, के कविता का इसमें रोल है। और के कविता जो है मीटिंगें करती रही ओबराइस में। के कविता जो है शराब के लोगों से, चड्डा परिवार से उन्होंने मीटिंग की, चड्डा परिवार का पैसा लेके उन्होंने फैक्ट्री डीसील करा के दी उनकी। तो ये सारा के कविता का रोल रहा है पैसे लेने देने में बहुत बड़ा।
I have nothing to do with the Delhi liquor investigation that is going on. This is a baseless allegation made on me by Bharatiya Janata Party just to make sure they malign the reputation of our family.
Meanwhile, the ED is set to probe foreign remittances by the event management companies linked to the excise policy. The CBI has also shared some documents with the ED in connection to the case. A lookout notice against 8 people named in the FIR has been issued. Bureau Report, India Today.
The BJP versus AAP war has spread from the capital to Gujarat. Arvind Kejriwal and Manish Sisodia kicked off their 2-day poll mission in the state by promising free education, free healthcare and free electricity. The AAP is calling the state of war in Gujarat a dharam yudh. But can it pose a real challenge to the BJP government in the state which has been so well entrenched now for decades?
ऐसे व्यक्ति को तो भारत रत्न मिलना चाहिए। पूरे शिक्षा व्यवस्था प्रधानमंत्री जी को बुलाना चाहिए, उनको कहना चाहिए भी जो भी पार्टी हो, पार्टीबाजी करने थोड़ी देश का विकास करना है।
An unequivocal endorsement by Arvind Kejriwal of his deputy in Gujarat. With the overbearing shadow of CBI raids on Manish Sisodia, Aam Aadmi Party's top leadership kicked off day 1 of their 2-day mission Gujarat.
जो आज स्कूलों की और शिक्षा व्यवस्था की बहुत बुरी हालत है, ये भारतीय जनता पार्टी के 27 साल के कुशासन का नतीजा है। इनको अगर एक मौका और दे दिया तो 5 साल और खराब करेंगे ये लोग।
After taking on the BJP, it was time for freebies for the poll-bound state.
तुम मुझे वोट दो, मैं तुम्हारे बच्चों का भविष्य बना दूंगा। तुम मुझे वोट दो, मैं तुम्हें फ्री बिजली दूंगा। तुम मुझे वोट दो, मैं तुम्हारा इलाज मुफ्त कराऊंगा। तुम मुझे वोट दो, महिलाओं के लिए हर महीने 1000-1000 रुपए दूंगा।
ये रेवड़ी कल्चर देश के विकास के लिए बहुत घातक है।
Arvind Kejriwal even hit back at the Prime Minister's Revdi taunt.
आपको जीरो बिल चाहिए कि नहीं चाहिए? किस किस को चाहिए? ये कहते हैं केजरीवाल पैसे लुटा रहा है, केजरीवाल फ्री की रेवड़ी दे रहा है। रेवड़ी चाहिए नहीं चाहिए? सबको चाहिए। केवल मैं कर सकता हूं, ये नहीं करेंगे। जब महाभारत युद्ध शुरू हो गया तो श्री कृष्ण जी सोए हुए थे।
Freebies and politics aside, the Aam Aadmi Party chief flexed his Hindutva muscle by invoking Lord Krishna.
इन लोगों के पास पूरी ताकत है, इनके पास सीबीआई है, इनके पास ईडी है, इनके पास इनकम टैक्स है, इनके पास पुलिस है, इनके पास सारी इतना पैसा है इन लोगों के पास। हमारे साथ श्री कृष्ण है।
Aam Aadmi Party is on an audacious mission to trump the BJP in Prime Minister's home state. But that's not all. The party is even eyeing a direct fight with Narendra Modi in 2024.
मैं आज आपके सामने कहना चाहता हूं कि 2024 का चुनाव आम आदमी पार्टी वर्सेस भारतीय जनता पार्टी होने जा रहा है। अब तक लोग पूछते थे कि मोदी वर्सेस हु। अब पूरे देश में माहौल बन रहा है कि मोदी जी नहीं चाहिए, अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को एक मौका देना है। एक मौका अरविंद केजरीवाल जी को देना है। अब ये बात पूरे देश से गूंजने लगी है।
While Arvind Kejriwal himself has played down a direct contest with Narendra Modi, saying that he is not angling for country's top job, for now the big BJP versus Aam Aadmi Party showdown is only set to explode. Bureau Report, India Today.
You could call it aggressive and aspirational, or you could call it plain delusional. Is the Gujarat election really going to be BJP versus the Aam Aadmi Party? And is the 2024 general election going to be Modi versus Kejriwal? Or is this just an effort by a desperate challenger to try and punch above his weight? Joining me on the Newstrack, India's foremost political commentator Rajdeep Sardesai. With us for perspective on this broadcast is Yashwant Deshmukh from Sea Voter. He has a tracking survey, so can tell us what's happening right now in his numbers in Gujarat. On the show representing the BJP, its national spokesperson Sanju Verma squaring off against her. We've got Reena Gupta from the Aam Aadmi Party and Abhishek Dutt from the Congress, which interestingly is on the same side as the BJP, demanding action against AAP and not commenting on the use or misuse of investigative agencies, at least in this particular case. Rajdeep, an aspirational belligerent seeking to punch above his weight? Or do you think, in the manner in which we know the Congress is collapsing in Gujarat and the AAP graph is rising, the AAP could potentially turn this into an AAP versus BJP election, if not this time, then most definitely in time for the next assembly election?
Look, Rahul, if you look at the trajectory of the Aam Aadmi Party since 2013, when they first entered the electoral arena, they have this habit of trying to punch above their weight and making every contest to be David versus Goliath, playing the role of underdog. What is Kejriwal doing? Ever since Manish Sisodia's name came in this CBI inquiry into the excise scam, he is projecting himself and his party as the victim, as the underdog. That's the role that brought him into national prominence after India Against Corruption. That's the role that he wants to sustain himself. So from the point of view of a narrative, one can see where he is coming from when Sisodia now says that 2024 will be Modi versus Kejriwal. But Rahul, if you look at the actual numbers, in 2019, the Aam Aadmi Party contests about 40 Lok Sabha seats. They won only one. That was Bhagwant Mann in Punjab. In Delhi also, where they've dominated for the last decade, he lost all 7 seats. The Aam Aadmi Party lost all 7 seats to the BJP. The total voting percentage of AAP in Delhi itself in a general election fell to around 18%. And across the country, the Aam Aadmi Party in a general election was seen to be vulnerable. Now, can they scale up from 1 seat in 2019 to become a challenger in 2024? No. But I think the optics, this is about optics. In the backdrop of the BJP targeting the AAP leadership, whether it's a Satyendra Jain and now Manish Sisodia, Mr. Kejriwal wants to project himself as a victim. And when he does that, he tends to get under the BJP's skin. So it's not so much about whether he can become the challenger in 2024, which I think is doubtful, but to make himself potentially as a credible long-term challenger to the BJP and Mr. Modi by targeting that same urban middle-class vote, by trying to appear as a credible leader for the future. So I think it's much more this time about the narrative and the optics than the actual numbers that an Arvind Kejriwal can hope to gain in 2024.
And given the fact that the AAP is hardly present in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Chhattisgarh and many other states, 2024 is a pipe dream. But in Gujarat, we know on good authority that the Congress's base is shrinking. It has been for several elections, and AAP is increasing its presence. Yashwant Deshmukh, to what extent? What is your polling tracking data telling you from Gujarat? The AAP's graph is going up. But the reverse way of looking at it is, the more the AAP rises in this election, the more the Congress falls, and the bigger the BJP's victory margin. So net-net, AAP increasing its presence in this election, not long-term, in Gujarat, could actually help the BJP win bigger than it otherwise would have.
Exactly, Rahul. You have just nailed it where it hurts because in the Mood of the Nation survey that we did for the India Today, if you look into the Gujarat number and particularly the vote share, you will realize that actually Aam Aadmi Party, even in Gujarat, is almost kind of touching double digit in terms of vote share. You know, in the MOTN, and that is a pretty startling stats because I feel that if they will keep on getting that kind of vote share, then they may or may not win many seats. But one thing is sure that they might end up damaging the prospects of Congress to a great degree. However, let me be very clear that many a times in these numbers we have also seen that Aam Aadmi Party takes an early lead kind of thing in the numbers. But when people see that they are not really in a winnable contest, the numbers also go down, as we have seen in case of Uttarakhand. You know, at one point of time, their numbers in Uttarakhand were almost telling around 17-18% of vote share. But eventually, when the people saw that it's more or less a bipolar fight between the Congress and the BJP, the numbers started going down. However, having said that,
but
Rahul,
can I counter that by saying that in several places, including in Delhi, when the Congress voter thinks or starts to think that the Congress isn't doing well, the Congress vote can migrate en masse as well, making it a AAP versus BJP fight, which happened in Delhi, it happened in Punjab, it's happened in a different context in a state like Tripura. Gujarat is more urbanized than most Indian states. Could what happened in Delhi potentially, to some extent, happen in Gujarat as well?
It's possible, Rahul, but please keep in mind two things. Number one, even in Delhi, every time the Lok Sabha election happened, the Congress became the number 2 party. So there was a kind of a swing vote, or you can say the what I call the split vote.
The Lok Sabha elections are a pipe dream. That is just to kind of, you know, build a mahal. So leave that on the side. I'm talking about the Gujarat Assembly election.
After Punjab, everything has changed after Punjab. Till Punjab happened, Rahul, Aam Aadmi Party was a single city phenomena. But now that they have got a huge majority in Punjab, all of a sudden they are also seen as a serious power player, where they have their incubation time of, say, 2 election cycles. So I'm not sure that 2024 would be the right incubation cycle for them to come up with a huge number of seats. But yes, if they kind of get their vote share to a right extent, to say 5, 6, 7%, which would be kind of like the launch pad with the BJP enjoyed in 1984 election, when everybody said they got only 2 seats. Without realizing, BJP polled almost about 8% seat, and it was the second largest party in 1984 in terms of vote share after Congress. And it was the right launch pad. So we need to see. But yes,
okay, but remember also what Kanchi Ram used to say back in the day about the BSP, कि पहला election लड़ा जाता है हारने के लिए, दूसरा हराने के लिए और तीसरा जीतने के लिए. So you can actually, over a period of time, it doesn't happen immediately. And let me put that question then to Sanju Verma. The Aam Aadmi Party will allege that a lot of what we are seeing with the CBI and the ED is being done because the BJP can see in Gujarat, in their own internal surveys and even anecdotally, that the AAP is spreading its presence. You are hassled by that in a long-term perspective, because if they do well in Gujarat, then they could potentially take the space which the Congress has left blank and open, and which is why you are now trying to take Kejriwal and Sisodia down. How do you respond? Sanju Verma.
Rahul, first and foremost, let me tell you, मुंगेरी लाल के हसीन सपने देखने का हक हर किसी को है, केजरीवाल को भी है, and his lackey Manish Sisodia उनको भी है. I will give you some numbers which completely nail the AAP narrative that it is a serious challenger to Narendra Modi. The fact of the matter is that apart from Delhi, the only place where they really are a serious contender, obviously they are in power, is in Punjab. Just look at the history of the last couple of years. The fact of the matter is that Arvind Kejriwal says, मैं तो हरियाणा का हूँ. 2019, Haryana in Lok Sabha they got less than 2% vote share. In the Haryana Assembly elections in 2019, they got 0.48% vote share, less than Lota. They contested the Chhattisgarh Assembly elections in 2018. Out of 85, they contested 50 odd seats. सारी सीटों में deposit जब्त. They contested Jharkhand Assembly elections in 2019. Vote share 0.23%. Nota vote share 1.36%. Again in 2018, out of 200 seats in Rajasthan, Aam Aadmi Party contested in 141 seats, lost deposit in all the 141 seats. Now let us talk of Gujarat Municipal Corporation elections in 2021. They won 27 seats in Surat, but they lost deposits in Gandhinagar, they lost deposits in Rajkot, they lost deposits in Jamnagar, they lost deposits in Bhavnagar, they lost deposits in Ahmedabad. And now the most important thing, for the last many years I've been hearing, Aam Aadmi Party ko Goa mein sarkar banayegi. Their vote share in 2017 was also 6%. Their vote share in 2022 was also 6%.
Okay, so your counter is this is a lot of sound and fury, not amounting to very much.
In 10 seconds.
Okay.
Let me complete in 10 seconds, please. Now the most important thing, Aam Aadmi Party contested 4 assembly, 4 elections in 4 states in 2022. Barring Manipur, they contested Punjab, Uttarakhand, Uttar Pradesh and Goa. They won 1, which means strike rate is 25%. BJP contested all the 5 states, won 4 out of 5.
No, but that one that they won has a better strike rate than the Congress, which is the point. That could it be BJP? The fact that the primacy of the BJP is not in question.
Why do you keep interrupting me, Rahul?
Itna to bol diya aapne. You said give me 10 seconds. You've spoken for a minute after that, and now you're saying why am I interfering? Because it can't be one-way traffic. Okay, 1 second. No, this is not fair. First you browbeat me, now you're asking for 10 more seconds. I'm a fair man, so I'll give you 10 more seconds. Okay, go on.
10 seconds more. The point is that Arvind Kejriwal's base premise of his entry into politics was he was an anti-corruption messiah, or so is the perception that was built at that time. He built around himself a perception that he was, all that is...
Okay, 10 seconds are over. I think you've made the point. We've understood what you're saying. I want to go across to Reena Gupta. When I was in Gujarat recently, I was speaking to a top AAP leader on the ground, and he said, we are present currently on 10,000 out of the 52,000 odd booths in the state. By your own admission, your presence on the ground at this moment is 1/5 of the state's booths. This is coming from a top AAP leader himself. If that is your accepted presence, then this effort to build a mahal seems to be much more than your political reality on the ground.
Rahul, so basically in the last 8 years, what we've seen is a lot of jumlabaji by Bharatiya Janata Party. When the Prime Minister won with such a huge majority, he promised the moon to the country. Jobs, the dollar rupee rate, this, that, पता नहीं क्या क्या बोला, देश पे जैसे पूरा राम राज्य आ जाएगा. 8 साल हो गए. He has not managed to deliver on any of the promises. The people of this country, the voters of Bharatiya Janata Party, they're all tired of this jumlabaji and they are looking for a real credible alternative. Arvind Kejriwal, Aam Aadmi Party is that credible alternative.
What is Manish Sisodia's relationship
Speak please, Sanju. Reena heard you patiently when you were speaking. We'll come back to you in just a moment. Let Reena Gupta complete her argument. Reena, I want to urge you to try and respond to the question that I had asked, which is this. AAP's own leaders in Gujarat are accepting that their presence is on 10,000 voting booths out of 50,000 odd voting booths. If that is your accepted presence in Gujarat, you're making it seem as if it will be BJP versus AAP. On the ground, the reality is different.
Rahul, first you have to ensure that Sanju Verma does not interrupt. She has a really bad habit of interrupting. You have to make sure that I get a chance to speak. You have all had a monologue and I don't want
Can a fader go down? You've spoken at length, Sanju. This is not fair. You spoke at length. We gave you time. We gave you extra time. Now you must let the other participants speak. I'll come back to you for a counter in just a moment. Reena, go on.
So, as far as Gujarat is concerned, Rahul, wherever we are going in Gujarat, we are getting a lot of love, lot of acceptance. We contested very few local area elections in Gujarat, in Surat and all, and the response was amazing. So, the graph in Gujarat is going up. The Bharatiya Janata Party in their 27 years has not managed to deliver on any of his promises, be it schools, be it hospitals. And people of Gujarat have heard about the great work which has been done in Delhi. They want to try this model of Aam Aadmi Party in Gujarat. I am very sure that Aam Aadmi Party is going to come out with a very good result in Gujarat, Rahul. And, the number of booths are increasing by the day. The organization, the Sangathan is increasing by the way. The Congress is nowhere to be seen in Gujarat. It's going to be Bharatiya Janata Party versus Aam Aadmi Party in Gujarat. And you see how rattled the Bharatiya Janata Party is. All of these cases, all of these false cases against our leaders are because of that, because they know that Aam Aadmi Party, Arvind Kejriwal are the most credible challenger to Bharatiya Janata Party right now, and that's the reason you see all of these false cases.
So you're saying that the BJP is rattled. Rajdeep, you've travelled oftentimes through Gujarat. You understand the state's politics well. First, there is a huge gap between the BJP and AAP at this moment. Secondly, the BJP doesn't really have much of a challenge. After 2017, the Congress just withered away, went back to its cocoon, as it were, and therefore that whole opposition space was just lying vacant for somebody to jump in. When the Hooch tragedy happened in Gujarat recently, it was AAP which was aggressive and on the ground. The Congress leaders, apart from, say, Jignesh Mevani, were nowhere on the ground. You've got the AAP alleging that the BJP realizes that there is a big change underway, which is why press conference after, if it's just a Delhi party and that's all the AAP is, the BJP needn't be so hassled and do so many aggressive press conferences.
Just a couple of points. First of all, Rahul, let's be honest. Since 1995, BJP को गुजरात में हराना नामुमकिन नहीं है, लेकिन मुश्किल बहुत है. The fact is, defeating the BJP in its citadel is very difficult. They've consistently scored over 45% of the vote. There is, though, a large anti-BJP vote as well. Now, principally, the Congress has cornered that vote, especially in rural Gujarat. In urban Gujarat is where the AAP, as we've seen in recent municipal elections like Surat, is making slow, steady gains. It can't happen overnight. Even in Punjab, which was referred to, the AAP, remember, won Lok Sabha seats in Punjab in 2014. It's taken them almost a decade before they became a serious contender for power and eventually won a majority in a Punjab assembly because of the weighted anti-incumbency against both the Congress and the BJP. Gujarat is a little different in that sense. But what the AAP is trying, Rahul, is very clear. They are looking at states where the direct fight is between BJP and Congress and where the Congress is weakening and trying to occupy the space left behind by the Congress. I said this is about kaun banega challenger. It's not as if the AAP is going to take on the BJP overnight. But if they can undermine, diminish the Congress, they believe they can start occupying that space and over time become a potential challenger to the BJP. We don't know whether that will actually happen. Much will also depend whether the Congress can get its act together.
No, but there, and I want to put that question to Abhishek, that when I was in Gujarat speaking to Congress leaders, those Congress leaders were telling me why it is impossible to beat the BJP and why 2017 was tough because of the Patidar agitation, and this time they feel it might be easier, and some of them mentioned the figure 150. I initially got confused thinking that maybe this Congress leader is now in the BJP, may have switched like so many have, but he was still in the Congress. Now the Congress in Gujarat simply doesn't have the hunger, the appetite, the ambition and the desire to beat the BJP. They've already conceded defeat even before the battle has begun, which is when a belligerent like Kejriwal comes along, says, "Main haraunga." It may not happen, most definitely not in this election, but people say, okay, at least here is someone who wants to fight. The Congress in Gujarat at this moment doesn't seem to want to fight. Forget whether it wins or loses. It doesn't even want to fight, it seems.
Rahul, the same thing happened last time before the Uttarakhand elections, Goa elections and UP elections. I remember when the Uttarakhand elections happened, most of the TV channels were debating on the same lines that Congress is not visible, Aam Aadmi Party is all over. And we know what the results of the states were. Mr. Deshmukh and other leaders before me very clearly told you the vote percentage of Aam Aadmi Party in Uttarakhand and in Goa. What exactly are they doing? They are only helping BJP win elections. The Aam Aadmi Party presence on media is very strong because of the advertisement budget that they have. But on reality, the picture is very, very different. They had a chief minister candidate in Uttarakhand who happened to join the Bharatiya Janata Party the moment elections got over. The entire clan of Aam Aadmi Party shifted to Bharatiya Janata Party. elections on ground are very, very different to elections in reality. Till 2014, there was a political party called Doordarshi Political Party, who had lost deposits on 321 seats in Lok Sabha elections. After which Aam Aadmi Party came in and lost deposit in 413 seats in 2014. In 2019, they had a vote share of 0.42%, which is much lesser than all these regional parties. But yes, in politics, everyone have got their own ambitions, and anyone can dream to become a MP or a PM. But the fact is, reality is very different. Arvind Kejriwal,
they're on TV, but they're not on the ground, says the Congress. There is some reality given what happened in Goa and Uttarakhand. The party has the ability to capture social media and arguably media attention, but they simply don't have the space, and therefore ye mahal bana rahe, but the Congress will actually be way ahead when it comes to the race to be number 2 in Gujarat.
You know, the truth as always lies somewhere in between what an Abhishek Dutt, Sanju Verma and Reena say, because the truth is that the Aam Aadmi Party is based in Delhi, where the national media is located, so tends to get a disproportionate importance, let's say, compared to some of the regional parties. That is true. However, what is clear is the Aam Aadmi Party is very cleverly also bringing out a narrative which is not just because of media advertising. It is a narrative which is very compelling for urban middle class voters. When you focus or claim to focus on education and health, like it or not, Sanju Verma can wag her finger, but the fact is the AAP gets under the skin of the BJP in a way that the Congress doesn't at the moment. You see, the BJP is finding it much more easier, as we saw in 2019, to take on the Congress, because the Congress comes with a lot of baggage. The AAP as a startup, which potentially can scale up, and when we scale up in politics doesn't mean 2024, it could be 2029. The fact is, therefore, because Kejriwal today tries to attract the same constituency that is also powerfully attracted to Mr. Modi, he becomes a potential challenger in the distant future. I'm not talking about near future, in the distant future. Why is it? I ask a simple question, Rahul. In the last 24-48 hours, why is it that every BJP leader,
making a point, let him complete.
Including ministers,
she's saying, are you joining up, Rajdeep?
No, no. You know, I have just received a message from someone who claims that Sanju Verma wanted an AAP ticket in 2014 and approached them. But I'm not going to sit here and make it a tutu meme. My limited point, I said at the outset, I don't think AAP can take on the BJP.
You're just... I don't know, Sanju, if you heard. Sanju, did you hear? He said that you were trying to join AAP. He's saying you were trying to join AAP in 2014.
Let me tell you now, you know, on national television, let me say one thing very clearly. You know, there has been a lot of Twitter hangama around it. I was an AAP party between January 2014 and March 2014 for 3 months. I was not even a full-fledged primary member, and I joined for 3 months, and
you joined the AAP.
See?
Let me tell you.
What happened then? I didn't know this story. I mean, it's a bit of a distraction, but I'm very curious.
Please finish. You know, don't interrupt. You guys are very bad at interrupting.
I'm asking you, ma'am. क्या हुआ आप में? Yes, please.
January, I heard you. January 2014 में मैंने ज्वाइन किया. मार्च 2014 में 3 महीनों के अंदर आम आदमी पार्टी की असलियत मुझे पता पड़ गई, and I left and I'm so happy. One of the smartest decisions I've made in my life is that I realized Aam Aadmi Party is a bunch of naysayers, bunch of crooks, और ये जो कहते हैं उसका बिल्कुल उल्टा करते हैं. And I want to tell Rajdeep has done phenomenal job, better than Reena Gupta as Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson. But Rajdeep, let me try and pretend to be neutral. मुझे पता आपके लिए बड़ा दिक्कत है neutral बनना. I want to say one thing. Rajdeep made a point about, you know, why Gujarat has urban voters and Aam Aadmi Party could attract the urban voters there. Let me tell you one thing.
I'm going to speak on this
Gujarat
program.
में, Surat में. I'll take just 30 seconds.
You've already taken half the TV to Sanju Verma.
Rahul, can I ask one question, please?
When it is your turn, you speak.
I will not keep quiet,
Okay,
Sanju Verma.
Reena, Speda goes down. Let Sanju complete. Otherwise, it's very difficult for me to moderate. Nobody is offering me to join any party. I'm going nowhere. So I'm as neutral as can possibly be in this conversation. So go ahead, Sanju, and then we go across to Reena.
Yeah, Rahul. Now in Gujarat, they won 27 seats in Surat. The fact of the matter is that in Gujarat, 56 seats come from Bhavnagar, Jamnagar, Surat, Ahmedabad. So I want to ask, Surat में आपने 27 सीटें जीती 2021 म्युनिसिपल इलेक्शंस में. You lost deposit in Gandhinagar. You lost deposit in Jamnagar. You lost deposit in Rajkot. You lost deposit in Bhavnagar. And Rahul Kanwal, I want to ask you one question. Why is the narrative now shifting from how serious a challenger Arvind Kejriwal is? The question that should be asked is, why is it that Arvind Kejriwal has refused to answer Anurag Thakur's pointed question? Why did you defy the Excise Act of 2009? You defied the Delhi Excise Rules of 2010. You defied the GNCTD Act of 1991. You defied the Transaction of Business Rules of 1993. You caused a loss to the exchequer.
Reena Gupta, respond to this point that Kejriwal is saying everything that he is, not explaining the excise policy, not answering specific questions about what happened during the excise policy. And if your policy was so fantastic, why did you withdraw it? Okay, now, Sanju, let us speak, please. No, this is not fair. No, one second, this is not fair. Now you've spoken, a fader goes down. Let Reena Gupta speak now on how Kejriwal is attacking the BJP but refusing to answer questions about actual policy, which is what really is on his door, and he needs to answer as Chief Minister.
Rahul, first of all, we've answered every question on the excise policy.
Not the Chief Minister, others have. The Chief Minister seems to speak about everything else but not about the specifics of policy.
The Excise Minister has answered. Why should anybody else answer? The Excise Minister has answered, Rahul. And as far as Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, the reason Bharatiya Janata Party is so rattled is because they know that Congress के MLAs तो वो खरीद लेंगे, वो तोड़ देंगे Congress के MLAs और सरकार गिरा देंगे. This is exactly what they do in Delhi, which they will never manage to do. And as far as Sanju Verma leaving Aam Aadmi Party is concerned, all I can say is good riddance to bad rubbish. I'm so glad she left and went away. And as far as Gujarat is concerned,
okay, this is not what I like. One second. Can we turn the faders down, please? I hate it when there is a cacophony and everyone speaking at the same time. That's not how I like to run debates. One at a time, make sense, not noise. Try and win through the power of your argument, not by your shouting capacity. Yashwant Deshmukh, look at it purely cephalogically.
Rahul.
In this election, the AAP seems to be very far from the BJP. That is, you can state the aspiration, but it's not met with reality. But we've seen in Punjab, between 2014 and 2022, they built a graph which led them to a big mandate. In Gujarat, the opposition space is yearning for someone to pose a credible challenge. In the Congress MLAs defect, and therefore Congress MLAs are also not seen as serious candidates, because you can vote for them if you don't like the BJP, but you never know whether they'll stay in the Congress after the election or jump ship. From what you know of the politics of Gujarat, does the AAP in a 7-10 year horizon have the potential to pose a serious electoral challenge?
Well, Rahul, I remember about 10 years back when Aam Aadmi Party was found, India Today had commissioned Sea Voter a nationwide survey, and it was the cover issue called AAP Positive. I think it was either December 2013 or somewhere around that. I don't exactly remember the month and date.
Okay.
But at that point of time, Aam Aadmi Party was just starting, and in that nationwide survey, we had pointed that even more than Delhi, Aam Aadmi Party is getting a traction in a state like Punjab. I remember the discussion that happened. Everybody poo-pooed that thing finding and said that it's not possible, it's not there. Even Aam Aadmi Party leaders were unable to grasp the fact that they have got more supporters in Punjab than in Delhi. And look into the 9 years down the lane, what the Punjab elections are telling. You see, politics and political spanning doesn't happen overnight. I understand that the numbers right at this point of time are not really looking very rosy for Aam Aadmi Party. And I also understand that in 2024, out of the blue, they are not going to be taking that kind of a quantum jump or quantum leap. But what I'm trying to simply say, people do not like the vacuum of leadership for very long. And right now, there is not in terms of the people who are in power, but in terms of leadership in opposition.
No, but let's also not get carried away over here. Reena Gupta, in the by-polls in Sangrur, in the Chief Minister's own village, in Bhagwant Man's own village, the AAP lost just a few weeks after you won the big election in Punjab. And this is the reality coming from, so you know, it's, I was in Punjab recently. I spoke to some voters to find out if they started getting free electricity, and they said there are so many terms and conditions about who this free electricity is applicable for and who it's not, and therefore very few are actually benefiting. Making these promises in a campaign is easy, living up and delivering on those promises is much tougher. You lost in a by-poll in the Chief Minister's own constituency, in his own village, just a few weeks after your big victory.
There is one more stat that should be concerning having a problem with Aam Aadmi Party. You see, in the recent MOTN poll for the India Today, we also said that there is a huge gap between Arvind Kejriwal's popularity, perceived popularity, and the actual vote intent to Aam Aadmi Party. If Arvind Kejriwal's national rating was roughly about 7-8%, Aam Aadmi Party's national voting intent was hardly between 1 to 2%. While in the case of Rahul Gandhi, it was just the bang opposite. Congress was trending at 20%, but Rahul Gandhi was trending at 9%. So there is a huge problem. You know, there is a contradiction.
Interesting, very interesting. Reena, okay, let Reena speak on this gap between the mahal, the sound and the fury, and the electoral reality at this time. Reena.
Yes.
Rahul, I'm very sure, you know, I have spent time in Gujarat, and people of Gujarat are tired of 27 years of Bharatiya Janata Party rule over there. There is, there is every day there is a drug seizure over there. Every second day you hear of huge illegal tragedy. The schools, the roads, the hospitals are in very bad shape. So people are just tired of Bharatiya Janata Party's Jumla Baji for 27 years, and they want to give one more party a chance. Arvind Kejriwal, Aam Aadmi Party are the credible people that they want to give a chance to. They know that with Congress, even if they vote for Congress, the Congress MLAs are going to be bought by Bharatiya Janata Party like they've done in every other state. So nobody wants to give Congress a chance.
Now here's the reality of politics, Abhishek, that the fact that, you know, whether...
Rahul, may I come in?
No, wait, we'll wait your turn. I'm just coming to you in a moment. Abhishek, whether Kejriwal is as big as he makes him seem, as he makes himself seem, is arguable. But what is clear is that if you are not keen on a fight, the election of the Congress president, the process has started. By end of September, we're supposed to know who's your next president. Rahul Gandhi has made clear it's not him. Sonia Gandhi has made it clear it's not her. Who it will be is not known. Forget who wins. What is certain is somebody who's not fighting as if his life depends on it, is never going to win, and that's the problem with the Congress. It may not happen in this election in Gujarat, but in a slightly longer term horizon, if the Aam Aadmi Party stays rooted to the cause of oppositional politics, and the Congress seems as wishy-washy as it is, the Congress's graph is going down and the AAP's graph is going up. That much is electorally inevitable, given the fact that you simply don't have the gumption for a fight.
Rahul, one person who's been opposing and fighting Narendra Modi and his policy tooth and nail is Rahul Gandhi.
How often has he been to Gujarat in this cycle? How often is Kejriwal going? What happened in 2017 when Rahul Gandhi led a very credible campaign? No, you must respond to my question.
Rahul.
Okay, go on.
No, I will. 2014, Arvind Kejriwal made a very big statement in Varanasi. He's saying that even if I lose, I will serve the people of Varanasi. He didn't go a single day. Arvind Kejriwal ji is going to Gujarat for a different reason. Rahul Gandhi is fighting for the farmers every day. He's fighting for each and every issue every day.
Sir, there's a big election in Gujarat. There's a big election in Himachal Pradesh. Congress is the #1 opposition party in Himachal Pradesh. How often has Rahul Gandhi gone there? In this cycle, Kejriwal is going every week. How often has Rahul Gandhi gone to Gujarat? In 2017, he led a credible campaign flanked by Ashok Gehlot. After that, he retreated from Gujarat. Now he wants to go in this election cycle. Do you think the people of the state will take such a politician seriously?
Rahul Gandhi is doing a Bharat Chodo where he's walking throughout the country, connecting with the people, raising the issue of major unemployment, price rise and hatred.
The real battle right now is in Gujarat. There is an election there.
I know.
You are the opponents. You should be fighting. Kejriwal is fighting. You're not even in the fight.
Our entire team is working over there. Kejriwal is nowhere. Kejriwal is just made out of PR agencies. 1 second, I want to ask one very straight question to Aam Aadmi Party.
Congress has appointed Ashok Gehlot as in charge of the campaign in Gujarat. Since 2017 to 2022, multiple Congress MLAs have jumped ship and joined the BJP. You've not been fighting on the ground. That is the reality, which is why AAP is getting the kind of mileage and mindshare that it is.
Rahul, tell me, where is Aam Aadmi Party getting the mileage? They were getting the same mileage in other states also. What happened in the result? Zero. One thing I want to ask Aam Aadmi Party, very specific one question. Aam Aadmi Party in the last 8 years have redone a lot of school. Tell me one new school. I'm repeating the question again. Tell me one new school building they have made in Delhi, not reconstructed. One new school. You give me an answer. I will tell you facts,
Delhi government
Rahul,
schools used to be very shabby. I've been to them myself. Those schools look much better than they did earlier. The teachers had very low motivation. I've spoken to teachers personally. They seem more charged up than they were earlier.
Rahul, do you know the latest figures in Delhi government school? 745 schools have got no principals in Delhi. 516 schools have no vice principal. 40% of the education budget is going lapse. 330 schools out of 1,030 have no science stream. Go by the facts. Don't go by advertisement. I'm asking you very simple and straightforwardly. Arvind Kejriwal, 1 second. Arvind Kejriwal is the first chief minister in our country who holds no portfolio. Just to cover up for this big excise lapse that they've done, he's trying to create a new media space every day. Arvind Kejriwal should be sitting in Delhi and telling the people of Delhi about their involvement in the excise policy. Entire policy was changed for few people. Running away from facts, creating narrative. This is what Aam Aadmi Party is all about.
Okay, Reena Gupta, respond to this.
Narendra Modi every day.
No, 1 second. Because the charges are against AAP. Let her respond. I'll come back to you for a final counter. You've spoken, Sanju Verma, more than everybody else. You've spoken more than everybody else. Sanju Verma, I think, would make a good agitational opposition leader. You complain quite a lot. I think you'd be a good agitational leader. No, but seriously, you'd be a good opposition leader.
Ask her the name of the school.
Okay.
Ask her name of one school they've opened.
Let Reena Gupta respond. I'm also running out of time. One at a time, please. Reena, final words.
This is not done.
I'm coming to you. I'm going to give you the last word, Sanju. So hold your horse. Just 1 second. Reena, final words.
The good work of the Aam Aadmi Party government in Delhi in education sector is being talked about the world over. I invite Abhishek to come to the Aam Aadmi Party office tomorrow. Tell me which Vidhan Sabha you want me to take you to. I'll show you new schools in every Vidhan Sabha. The New York Times did a cover story, Abhishek. The New York Times did a cover story
Abhishek,
on
let
the
us
Delhi
speak,
schools
please.
and how the Delhi schools have been transformed. And it's really hilarious that somebody like Abhishek would say that what has happened in Delhi schools. The United Nations is talking about the Delhi government schools. The New York Times is talking about it. The whole world is talking about how the Delhi government has transformed the Delhi schools, Abhishek, and how shoddy they were during Mr. Sheila Dikshit's time. How they used to all stink. There were no toilets. There was no drinking water in the schools of Delhi.
Okay, Sanju Verma, I'm out of time on this debate. So final words very quickly, please. Ma'am.
Rahul, first and foremost, let me tell you very quickly, as far as Gujarat is concerned, the per capita income of Gujarat is 2,35,000 versus the national average of 1,46,000. Last year, Gujarat got 37% of the total foreign direct investment that came into India, seeing a 279% jump. 47 lakh people are employed in the MSME sector in Gujarat, one of the best ratios in the country. In terms of women's safety, Gujarat ranks amongst the top 5. In terms of ease of business, Gujarat ranks amongst the top 5. In terms of ease of manufacturing, Gujarat ranks amongst the top 5. Now, you tell me one thing. Arvind Kejriwal has not built a single school in the last 5 years. He has shut down 80 schools. More than 700 schools don't have a principal or a vice principal. More than 700 schools don't teach science or commerce. The other thing is he has not built a single
I'm smiling because
and one more thing
is dealing with a situation where you got BJP and Congress saying the same thing. They're reading off the same research.
What his contribution was during the peak
No,
Rahul,
Rahul, one question
Rahul,
I asked her. Name me one
Arvind
school you opened. She could
Kejriwal
answer. I asked her one school.
last year was 600 crores. What did he do for the people of Delhi during COVID second wave? I remember he was on your channel saying, मैंने वैक्सीन लगा ली है जी, मेरे बाबूजी ने भी लगा ली है जी, आप भी लगाइए. This was his only contribution to the Delhi Janta during the COVID second wave.
So this was an interesting show. We discovered various
Rahul,
things.
but
We
still she
discovered
hasn't
for one that
answered.
Sanju Verma was once a member of the Aam Aadmi Party.
Oh my God,
she didn't
3
last
months.
very long. 3
For
months,
3
yeah.
months.
3 months she was.
I left. Don't say you. I didn't last. I left. I left because I realized it's a party of crooks. And I say this for the record on your channel.
Okay. We also
was a
realized that
smart decision
BJP
I
and
made.
AAP, irony of political ironies, asking the same questions. BJP and Congress asking the same questions of AAP. That again is rather ironical. And the fact also is that Kejriwal is a master when it comes to political mahal, and very often that mahal isn't matched with reality, but at least he has the audacity of ambition. The audacity, the desire to want to take on the BJP, a hunger, a ambition, which seems to be lacking at this moment in the Congress, which seems to have conceded defeat and not really mustering its forces for a battle. And that is the reality of politics. But what's interesting is that there is at least a contest, and that's what I love as a journalist. The fact that there is a fight, even if at this moment it's more a notional fight and a hawa mein fight, but at least there's a fight. It's exciting. If it's only one-way traffic and the political winds are blowing in one direction, then it's no fun being an observer or being a commentator of Indian politics. This is interesting. Indian politics is at a very interesting stage. You've got a very aggressive belligerent making more noises than are matched by reality, but also making the effort to build a presence on the ground, which may not happen immediately, but could potentially happen over time. And you've got the sitting incumbent, sitting strong, sitting pretty, but concerned about the insurgent who's taking shots at the throne. We'll keep tracking Indian politics like absolutely no one else does, with greater insight, more depth, more knowledge, more research than most other networks, which are more bent on making noise than they are in making sense. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I'm slipping into a break. When we come back on the other side, Russia detains an ISIS suicide bomber who was plotting a high-profile terror attack in India. Bomber admits he was asked to avenge insult to the Prophet. Details coming up on the other side.
I'm the early bird who gets the news. The fresh morning air is my energizer. With me around, there are no dwindled dawns. Only bright, action-packed mornings. Rise and shine with me every single day, and you'll never hit that snooze button.
Good morning, India. Why wake up any other way when you can witness magic every single day? Watch First Up with me, Akshita Nandagopal, right here on India Today TV.
Get it, get it. 3, 2, 1. Yeah! Get it! Yeah! Bring it back.
Look how much we sweat.
You're on board the Newstrack. An ISIS plot for a possible revenge attack against Nupur Sharma has been busted in Russia. Russian Federal Security Agency has detained an ISIS suicide bomber. The terrorist was to leave Russia to carry out a high-profile attack on India. Top leaders of the BJP and Indian central authorities were on the target. The suicide bomber, who was recruited between April and June this year, has made a big admission. He's told Russian authorities that he was asked by the ISIS to take revenge for the insult to the Prophet. He said that he had to meet a handler in India who'd provide him necessary materials for a terrorist attack. The suicide bomber was recruited via the Telegram app and met the ISIS leadership in Turkey. This is where I wrap up the Newstrack tonight. For your time and your trust, thank you very much. I look forward to seeing you at 8 p.m. tomorrow evening. Till then, from all of us here on the Newstrack team, goodbye, good night.
Everyone's busy finding what's trending. You're busy finding out why. India Today, for those who research before reacting. Download the India Today app now. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices.
Presented by Aditya Birla Capital. Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist. Co-presented by JK Pancharghat Tire. Ab hawa nahi niklegi. In association with Neom, the line new wonders for the world.
Hello and welcome. You're with the news today. This is your primetime destination news. Newsmakers talking points. The big talking point as the excise scam in Delhi threatens to explode. Will it really be Modi versus Kejriwal in 2024 as the AAP claims, or are they simply doing a pipe dream there? Also, the Jammu and Kashmir voter list that sparked off a major controversy. Is it really pitting Kashmiris versus non-locals? Omar Abdullah is among my guests tonight. That's right, he'll join me later. But first, the 9 headlines at 9 tonight. As the Delhi Liquorgate scam explodes, Manish Sisodia makes a sensational claim that the BJP offered to shut cases against him if he splits the AAP. BJP says AAP is running away from the serious corruption charges. Russia detains an ISIS suicide bomber who was allegedly plotting a high-profile terror attack in India. Bomber admits he was asked to avenge insult to Prophet. BJP netas were on his hit list. Days after a landmark decision to let non-locals vote in J&K, opposition targets centre. PDP accuses BJP of importing voters. National Conference says it will resist the move. BJP Congress furious. Tipu versus Savarkar war in Karnataka escalates. Congress threatens to paste Tipu Sultan posters at a BJP office in a tit-for-tat. BJP workers put up Savarkar posters at the Congress office. Qualified candidates for teaching hit the streets of Patna in anger over unemployment. Video of an ADM thrashing youth in the stir goes viral. BR government assures action. Violence and ruckus at JNU campus as students and administration clash. Students allege their scholarships have been stalled for over 2 years. Blood fury across large parts of eastern and northern India. UP, Odisha, Himachal battle the deluge due to incessant rain. Roads submerged, homes and vehicles swept away. Thousands have been displaced. Supreme Court defers All India Football Federation elections by a week, directs a change in electoral college and dissolves the Committee of Administrations. This comes days after FIFA suspended AIFF. Pakistan police charge ousted Prime Minister Imran Khan under the Terrorism Act. Imran applies for pre-arrest bail. His supporters hit the streets in anger. But first tonight, it's being seen as the latest political battle in the country. Days after the CBI raided Delhi's Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia, that excise policy scam showdown is heating up as the fire spreads from Delhi to poll-bound Gujarat. Manish Sisodia and Arvind Kejriwal were in Gujarat today campaigning for AAP. Manish Sisodia, who was named in the CBI FR, made a sensational allegation claiming that the BJP had asked him to split AAP and become the chief minister to prevent a CBI investigation. The BJP rejects the charge as a figment of imagination and claims the AAP is running away from the serious corruption charges leveled by the CBI. Why is this excise scam now becoming, in a sense, a prelude to what many believe could be a political showdown in the months ahead? BJP versus AAP. Take a look.
ऐसे व्यक्ति को तो भारत रत्न मिलना चाहिए.
मैं एक ईमानदार आदमी हूँ. इनफैक्ट मैं अरविंद केजरीवाल जी की टीम में हूँ ही इसलिए कि मैं एक कट्टर ईमानदार आदमी हूँ.
The CBI raid on Manish Sisodia over the Delhi liquor policy has hit the Aam Aadmi Party where it hurts it the most. A party formed as a crusade against corruption now stands accused of the same grime and filth it had set up.